Epic tales often begin with one single step taken by someone who seems just like you and me. So, how do we transform someone who's ordinary into an extraordinary hero? Well, welcome, Scribes of the Extraordinary, and today we're going beyond entertainment and diving deeper into the craft of storytelling by talking about the evolution of your protagonist hero. We're going to talk about the importance of establishing the ordinary world, the catalyst for their change, and then that journey into the extraordinary. So, let's get started. Every extraordinary hero starts somewhere. Often, it's in the most ordinary of worlds. So, the significance of the ordinary world is going to be the place where your character starts. It's important because it establishes a baseline, not only a baseline of where they came from, but who they are. In this ordinary world, you're going to be showcasing the internal struggles that your main character has, their desires, as well as their limitations. But on top of all these things, you're also going to be showcasing who and what is important to your protagonist. It's very often that your protagonist is going to start their journey in their hometown if they are going to go on a journey, which those are the kind of stories we're talking about today. But your character was going to start somewhere. And if you don't show where your character starts, their growth isn't going to hold nearly as much meaning. If you start watching their growth arc, halfway through their growth arc, well, then it's not as impactful, is it? If you see a picture of someone when they first started working out versus 3 years later after bodybuilding for years, that's going to be a stark difference, as opposed to if they showed you a picture from last week compared to today. So, beginning in your ordinary world, beginning at your character's beginning, and establishing who they are before the journey starts is going to really help your character arc flourish and feel more powerful. Starting in your ordinary world is also going to establish a connection with your readers. It creates relatability. I mean, how many people have read about or watched The Shire and just, I want to live there. I want that to be my home. It's peaceful. It's beautiful. People just want to take care of their neighbors and hang out with each other and garden and eat good food. How many of you just wish that this felt like it was home, whether it was like your home or not? So creating this relatability to your audience with your ordinary world and with the ordinary world of your character. Another thing that happens when you establish this ordinary world and you establish what bonds are important to your characters is you're creating stakes immediately. If your character doesn't go on the adventure, what happens to their family? What happens to their hometown? What happens to their friends? This is something that is not in the Lord of the Rings movie, but is in the books, is the hobbits come back and the Shire's been overrun by enemies. They would have been trapped in that, not able to do anything, but because of the growth from their adventure, they're able to take back their home. Another example, utilizing the Shire, because it's just such a good example of beginning in the ordinary world, is it's peaceful. You wouldn't really want to leave, and neither does Bilbo or Frodo. Bilbo's very hesitant to leave the comforts of home, and he talks about it quite a bit on his adventure and wishing that he would have stayed home. Frodo, it takes him 17 years to actually leave the Shire and go on his adventure. There's a comfort about staying at home. There's a comfort with not doing anything brash or crazy or going on an adventure, and that's where most of us stay. But you will never see the world. You will never experience life unless you're willing to take some risks and get out there. So think about your protagonist's ordinary world and how does it set the stage for their transformation? Share some of your setting ideas down in the comments and we can help each other brainstorm. The Shire is such a good example of a beautiful, peaceful, ordinary world that you always want to go back to. But what pushes a character out of this comfortable, ordinary world? What pushes them from the ordinary into the extraordinary? That is the catalyst for change. So the importance of a catalyst. The catalyst is what disrupts the status quo. The catalyst is when all the dwarves show up for Bilbo. The catalyst is when Link's sister is kidnapped by a giant bird in Wind Waker. That's the catalyst for him enjoying his lovely island life and actually taking the adventure and becoming the hero he was meant to be. So the catalyst is going to be really important in your character's journey. It's going to disrupt the status quo and propel them into an adventure. So the reason why the catalyst acts the way that it does is that it challenges the protagonist to act. Before the catalyst happens, life has been going as it's been going. They've been enjoying cooking or doing their job or spending time with family. But as soon as this challenge arises, it shows up in a way that action has to be taken. And either you ignore this call and then it's just staring at you, wanting and yearning for you to accept it, or you accept the call to adventure. The catalyst also forces confrontation on the character. Even if you're the most passive characters ever, if a problem arises that only you can solve, well, that's going to be eating at you until you take action. It also forces your characters to face fear. Fear of leaving, fear of danger, fear of change. The catalyst is going to make them make some kind of decision and overcome some kind of inherent fear that they have. It makes them take action, to take steps towards the adventure or away from it initially. And it also sets them on the path of your story. So the catalyst is really important. And the catalyst can happen very early in your book or not very late, but later in your book. For example, we have the catalyst of the story Cinder. Cinder is a mechanic, minding her own business, working on the things that she's working on, and then suddenly the crown prince drops his android on her table and was pretty desperate for her to fix it because he has nowhere else to turn to. That is a unavoidable problem dropped right in front of your character that completely changes their world. Another example of a catalyst is Percy Jackson, in that he's attacked by his teacher who turns into this monstrous Batwoman, and then he's told, "Oh no, you didn't see anything, that was fine." For shortly after that, him to be chased by a Minotaur. You have these moments that force your character into the realm of adventure. And it's important to figure out how to write your catalyst in a way that will actually entice your character to move forward. For Percy, well, this was a life or death situation, and if he didn't leave his mom, she was going to be in trouble. If she was going to be in danger, they had to go. They were in the middle of danger. That was his driving force, was to protect those around him, which is the driving force of his character, period, for anything he's in. And then you have Cinder, where her driving force was to not be paid attention to. She didn't want people to know that she existed and that she was good at her job. And suddenly you have the imperial crown prince who's about to be crowned emperor, desperate for your help. Yeah, that will get you going really fast and thinking, what on earth do I do? So what's the catalyst that will launch your protagonist into their adventure? I challenge you to write that pivotal scene and then come back here and share your insights on that. And the path from the ordinary to extraordinary is paved with challenges, growth, and triumph. The biggest part of your book is going to be these stages of journey. You have the ordinary world, you have the catalyst that pushes them forward, but the catalyst is just the first step in your character's journey of adventure, their journey from being ordinary into extraordinary. They're going to be faced with many challenges along the way that's going to cause them to have to make a decision of whether to grow or whether to cower into who they used to be. These challenges are going to be these challenges are what we're going to follow in the story. It's going to be how they keep taking steps closer and closer to being a hero. How they overcome obstacles is also going to be a critical piece of this. Are they going to overcome obstacles by facing something they fear? Are they going to be overcoming obstacles by leaning into their strengths? Are they going to be overcoming obstacles by leaning into their weaknesses and turning those into strengths? That can be a lesson that they learn. What are the lessons that they're going to learn over the course of the journey from ordinary to extraordinary? How do they grow? It's going to be in these challenges that they grow as a person. They grow as a character. We see them overcome internal struggle as well as external struggle. And it's these moments that we really root for our character, these moments of growth. It's why we love watching stories unfold. You can see their weaknesses and their flaws becoming strengths. So the transformation from an ordinary person into an extraordinary hero is going to be encapsulated in all of these experiences. And all these experiences are going to shape your protagonist. But remember, as you are taking your characters through their growth into a hero, this is going to be a gradual process. Going back to the example of working out and bodybuilding from day 1 to year 3, that is a 3-year process of near daily training. Your character isn't just going to wake up a hero one day. Even if your character just wakes up with supernatural abilities one day or magic or whatever, they're not going to be a hero. It's going to take a process for them to go from ordinary to extraordinary. As they overcome challenges one at a time, they're going to slowly grow. And they're going to become extraordinary by the end of the story, and often unrecognizable compared to where they used to be. Take one of your favorite books, specifically series are easier to see this in, book series or television series, and look at a character from the very beginning to the very end. See how much they've changed and how important that change is to becoming the hero that they are. It's important to have satisfying resolution at the end of this journey. And that resolution needs to reflect all of the growth your character has been through. So, for example, let's take Harry Potter. At the beginning of the series, he was an ordinary boy. He was lonely. He didn't really have any allies, primarily all enemies. But by the end, he's powerful. He's confident. He has allies and friends. He's figured out who he is, and he stands out instead of cowers away. Cinder from the Lunar Chronicles, she's a mechanic that just takes life as it comes. She tries to stay out of the way, and she's ashamed of revealing who, primarily what, she is being a cyborg. So she keeps her mechanical hand gloved up. She always keeps her boots cinched so you can never tell that she's different. And she starts as this hesitant, I'm just keeping my head down and don't want any troubles, to becoming a determined leader and a revolutionary who isn't afraid of who she is and showcases proudly who she is in order to lead people and to make change in the world. Percy Jackson was a problem child who turned into the problem child. He began as the kid who was getting kicked out of schools, not making any friends. He was bullied to the one that everyone looked up to. The problems found him. And then bigger problems found him. And he always tackled them. Now, something interesting about Percy Jackson is all the other characters that I've talked about so far in these examples have had character arcs. Percy doesn't have a character arc, which is really interesting because he still goes from zero, being the kid kicked out of every school in existence, to hero, being the one that everyone turns to when there's nothing else to do. And what I mean by he doesn't have a character arc is he has always jumped in and saved others. He was willing to protect his mom from the Minotaur and actually fought the thing for her. He didn't know what he was doing. he was a child who just had a random sword that he had only held once before and was told that it was a dream and fought a thing. He always had bullies. It's just the bullies kept getting bigger, but he still stood up for them. He still stood against the bullies, no matter person or literal god that he would be fighting. But even though he doesn't have a character arc, he still has this transformation from zero to hero, from ordinary to extraordinary. And that's the whole key of this video, is you can have characters go through incredible transformation, even if they themselves don't necessarily go through incredible transformation. Percy goes from zero to hero, and he is sassy and self-confident the entire time. So how will your protagonist's journey unfold? Start outlining their path to greatness and let us know how your stories evolve. Now, the ordinary world, the catalyst for change, and the journey to the extraordinary. With these three things in mind, your characters are going to go through a metamorphosis that will leave a lasting impression and be so memorable to your audience. If you like this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe to let me know that this is the kind of content that you would like to see me keep making for you all. This whole channel is meant to help writers grow in their craft. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what other things you would like me to talk about. And while my scribes of the extraordinary, that is all I have for you today. I look forward to our next encounter as we continue our journey of going beyond entertainment, one step at a time.